Let's talk about one of the most common misunderstandings when it comes to love and relationships. The idea that attraction alone is enough to keep a man interested long term. It's not. Attraction might be what brings him closer initially. It's the magnet, the spark, the chemistry that gets the wheels turning. But if you want to keep a man truly hooked, not just present, but invested, you need to give him more than just a spark. You need to give him depth. Most women have been sold this story that once you're beautiful enough, once you dress right, smile at the right time, say the right things, he's yours. But here's the truth. Attraction gets his attention, but depth keeps it. Because after the initial thrill of appearance wears off, which it always does, what he's left with is you, your mind, your energy, your values, how you handle conflict, how you handle yourself. Think of it this way. Physical attraction is like a movie trailer. It can be exciting, even magnetic, but if the actual movie, the real you, doesn't have a storyline, doesn't have characters he connects with, doesn't go anywhere emotionally, he won't be staying until the credits roll. We live in a world where image is everything, but in relationships, substance is king. So what does depth look like? It's not about being serious all the time. Depth is being emotionally intelligent. It's knowing how to communicate your needs without blowing up or shutting down. It's having the courage to be vulnerable without losing your sense of self. It's having standards and boundaries, not just rules for him, but values you live by. When a man sees that you're not just reacting to him or adapting to please him, but you're actually grounded in who you are, that's what makes him stay. And here's what most women get wrong. They think being chill or low maintenance will keep him around. They try to avoid being too much, too emotional, too complex, but the truth is, being multidimensional is what actually makes you irresistible. Men don't stay for the easy, they stay for the meaningful. For the woman who challenges him, inspires him, surprises him, and connects with him in a way that no one else does. So instead of trying to keep him by being what you think he wants, focus on becoming more of who you are. Cultivate your passions, your opinions, your life. When you bring that richness to the table, you offer more than just company. You offer a connection. And when a man feels that emotional, intellectual, and spiritual connection with a woman, he doesn't just want to stay. He feels lucky to stay. That's the real secret. Not attraction, but depth. And it's something no beauty routine can fake. There's a powerful shift that happens when a woman moves from trying to be liked to truly valuing herself. And nowhere is that more critical than in romantic relationships. One of the biggest mistakes women make is believing that being compliant, agreeable, or always accommodating will keep a man interested. They think if I'm easygoing, if I never argue, if I say yes to everything he wants, he'll see how amazing I am and never leave. But that's not how real attraction works. Men don't stay because you never challenge them. They stay because you bring confidence, certainty, and presence into the relationship. Confidence is far more attractive than compliance. Think about it. When you're always agreeable, when you say yes just to avoid tension, when you go along with his plans even when they don't feel right to you, what you're actually signaling is that you don't trust your own voice. And if you don't value your own voice, why would he? When you over-accommodate, it might feel like you're being loving, but over time it creates a dynamic where your needs take a back seat, and his respect for you quietly begins to erode. What keeps a man hooked is a woman who respects herself deeply enough to say no when it matters. A woman who isn't afraid to walk away from something that doesn't align with her values. A woman who knows she's bringing something valuable into the relationship, not just beauty or attention, but presence, energy, and standards. That kind of confidence isn't loud. It doesn't need to be boastful. It's simply a quiet knowing that says, I'm not afraid to lose someone who doesn't recognize my worth. When you're confident, you stop chasing validation. You stop needing constant reassurance. You stop bending over backward to make him happy at the expense of your own happiness. And here's the irony, when you stop trying so hard to be liked, that's often when you become most attractive. Because confidence sends a powerful message. You're in this because you want to be, not because you need to be. And that energy is magnetic. Relationships thrive when both people show up as whole individuals. Compliance might keep things smooth on the surface, but it doesn't create passion. Passion comes from polarity. Two people with their own opinions, desires, and voices coming together because they choose to, not because one is constantly trying to please the other. If you want to build something lasting, don't aim to be the woman who never causes waves. Aim to be the woman who knows her worth so completely that she brings strength, clarity, and direction into everything she touches, including her relationship. So don't trade your confidence for comfort. Don't give up your power for peace. The right man doesn't want a passive partner. He wants a woman who can stand next to him as an equal, because deep down, every high, Val, you man is looking for a high, Val, you woman who makes him rise, not one who fades into the background just to be liked. One of the biggest misconceptions in dating is the idea that being constantly available equals being desirable. Many women fall into the trap of thinking that if they always respond right away, always say yes to plans, and make themselves readily accessible at all times, a man will see how committed and invested they are, and that it will somehow make him reciprocate. But availability by itself does not equal value. In fact, the more available you are without discernment, the more it can actually decrease your perceived value in his eyes. Men, just like women, are wired to value what they invest in. When something is too easy, always there, and requires no effort to attain or maintain, it becomes background noise. It gets taken for granted. That's not because men are bad or selfish, it's because human psychology works that way. We value what we earn, what challenges us, and what we feel we could lose if we don't step up. So if you're always picking up the phone, rearranging your schedule, or putting your life on hold for someone who hasn't proven they're truly in, you're not raising your value. You're training him to treat your time as something cheap. Being valuable doesn't mean playing games or being deliberately distant. It means having a life that is full, meaningful, and not dependent on whether or not he calls. It's about showing him that your world doesn't revolve around him, especially not in the early stages. That you're not waiting around to be chosen. You've already chosen yourself. That energy creates curiosity and respect. It creates mystery. Not because you're hiding, but because you're clearly prioritizing the things and people that bring you joy and fulfillment outside of a romantic connection. Men are drawn to women who have purpose, who are passionate, who are doing things that light them up. When your life is rich with meaning, you don't need to chase a man. You simply make space for someone to join you on that journey, and he'll feel lucky to be invited in. It also sets the tone for the entire relationship. If you start from a place of constant availability, you're setting the expectation that your needs, your plans, and your time will always come second. But if you start from a place of self-respect and value, you create a dynamic where he knows he needs to bring effort to earn a place in your life, and he'll respect you more for it. So the next time you're tempted to say yes just because you don't want to miss a chance with him, ask yourself, am I being available or am I being valuable? One gets you attention, the other earns you commitment. And it's the women who know the difference that end up with relationships that are not just exciting, but truly fulfilling. A lot of women are told to keep some mystery when dating, and while that advice is thrown around often, it's also wildly misunderstood. Some take it to mean they should be emotionally distant, hard to read, or even play manipulative games to keep a man guessing. But real mystery, the kind that keeps a hive, you man intrigued and invested, has nothing to do with playing hot and cold or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about maintaining your individuality and sense of self in the relationship. It's about continuing to be a whole person with your own passions, boundaries, and life, regardless of how deeply you connect with someone. The mistake many women make is thinking that closeness means merging. They think that once they start dating someone seriously, they have to share every thought, spend every moment together, and constantly reassure him of their availability. And while vulnerability and openness are essential parts of emotional connection, losing yourself in someone else isn't intimacy, it's self-abandonment. When a man feels like your whole world revolves around him, he may enjoy the attention at first, but over time, the dynamic shifts. What once felt romantic starts to feel smothering. The attraction fades not because there's a lack of affection, but because there's no longer a sense of individuality to create healthy tension. Mystery, in its healthiest form, comes from keeping your personal identity alive. It means still pursuing your goals, your friendships, your hobbies, especially the ones that lit you up long before he came into the picture. When you maintain your life outside of him, you create natural space for desire to grow. You don't need to manufacture distance to keep him interested. The simple act of living your life fully is enough. That's the kind of mystery that's magnetic, not because it's confusing, but because it's real. There's a reason why people are most attractive when they're doing something they love, when they're in their element, when they're not focused on impressing anyone. That energy, the one of the most overlooked truths in dating, is this: if a man isn't investing in you, he's not truly in the relationship. Love is not just about words, it's about effort, consistency, and action. Too often, women find themselves giving, and giving, hoping that their love and loyalty will inspire a man to finally step up. But real connection doesn't work that way. In fact, the more you do for someone who isn't earning that space in your life, the less they value what you give. A man has to feel he's earning you, not in a manipulative or transactional way, but in a way that engages his sense of purpose and emotional commitment. The truth is, people don't value what they don't work for. It's human nature. When something comes too easily or too soon, we don't take it as seriously as something we've had to put consistent energy into. This is not about playing games, it's about self-respect. When you give your time, your energy, your body, your loyalty, and your emotional labor to someone who hasn't shown through their actions that they're genuinely invested in you, you create an imbalance. You end up carrying the emotional weight of the relationship while he coasts on the comfort you provide. Letting a man invest isn't about being passive or withholding. It's about creating space for him to show up. It's resisting the urge to fill every gap, solve every problem, or chase him down for answers and attention. It's giving him the opportunity to demonstrate his intentions through behavior. Is he making time for you or just texting when it's convenient? Is he planning dates and asking real questions about your life, or is he only present when he wants something? These aren't small details. They are the clearest indicators of where his head and heart are. A man who is serious about you will want to invest. He will find joy in making an effort. He will want to make you feel secure, not confused. And if he's not doing that, you're not helping him get there. By overcompensating, you're actually robbing him of the chance to rise to the level the relationship requires. You are not being high maintenance for expecting effort. You are being wise. So many women fear that if they don't constantly pour in energy, the connection will die. But if a relationship only exists because you're the one keeping it alive, then it's not a relationship. It's a performance. The right dynamic is mutual. Both people should be investing emotionally, physically, and mentally. So take a step back, let him come forward, and if he doesn't, he was never truly in it. Because love without effort is not love, it's convenience, and you deserve far more than that. One of the easiest traps to fall into in the early stages of dating, or even deep into a relationship, is overgiving. Many women do it without realizing. They cook, plan, support, listen, fix, accommodate, and go out of their way to prove their love, hoping it will be returned in kind. It comes from a beautiful place, a desire to nurture, to care, to build something meaningful. But when giving becomes one-sided or excessive too early on, it can backfire in a big way. Instead of drawing a man closer, it often leads to him pulling away. Why? Because overgiving creates imbalance, and imbalance slowly erodes attraction and respect. A healthy relationship thrives on reciprocity. When you give in proportion to what you receive, you create a natural flow where both people feel valued and motivated to contribute. But when you're giving more than what's being matched, especially emotionally, it can feel like you're trying to earn love rather than build it. Men, especially those who aren't emotionally mature or ready, will often take what's freely given without thinking too much about it. That doesn't make them villains, it's just human nature. If you give endlessly and he never has to step up, you train him to expect that dynamic. What many women miss is this: the moment you give too much, too soon, without allowing him the space to earn it, you remove the possibility for meaningful investment on his part. You do the emotional lifting for both people. You preemptively meet his needs without ever seeing if he's even interested in meeting yours. And over time, that not only leads to resentment on your end, it also leads to a loss of respect and attraction on his. Giving in love is beautiful, but the key is to give with boundaries. Don't offer your time, energy, or loyalty as a down payment on potential. Give when it feels good, when it's earned, and when it's balanced. Early on, let him show you who he is before you show him the full weight of your loyalty. Let his effort match yours. Watch how he responds when you step back just a little. Does he lean in? Does he rise to meet you? Or does he fade into the background once the perks of your attention aren't handed to him without effort? You don't need to prove your worth through overfunctioning in a relationship. Your value doesn't come from how much you do, it comes from who you are. When you respect yourself enough to give wisely, you teach him to value you. You allow space for him to give, to show up, to invest. And if he doesn't take that opportunity, you've lost nothing. You've simply saved your energy for someone who will. So don't love harder to compensate for his lack of effort. Love smart, love with balance, and love in a way that honors your own worth first. One of the most powerful things a woman can do in a relationship is honor her standards, even when her feelings are deeply involved, even when the man feels like the one. It's easy to hold onto your values when you're not emotionally attached, when your heart's not in it yet. But when you feel that undeniable connection, when you're swept up in chemistry, passion, or the fantasy of who someone could be, that's when your boundaries are truly tested. And that's also when many women start compromising on the very standards that were supposed to protect their emotional well-being. It starts subtly. Maybe he cancels plans last minute, but you let it go because the time you do spend together feels amazing. Maybe he avoids defining the relationship, and instead of asking for clarity, you convince yourself not to push it because you're afraid of ruining the vibe. Maybe he says he's not ready for commitment, and rather than walking away, you decide to stay and hope he'll change. All of these small compromises, while seemingly harmless in the moment, add up. Before you know it, you've made exceptions for someone who wouldn't do the same for you. And worse, you've sent the message that your standards are flexible when your emotions are involved. But here's the reality: the right man will never require you to lower your standards. He may challenge you in healthy ways, but he will never ask you to abandon your values, your self-respect, or your emotional needs just to be with him. If you have to shrink to fit into his life, you're not being chosen. You're being used to fill a temporary gap. And deep down, most women know when this is happening. They feel the discomfort, the anxiety, the emotional drain, but they silence their intuition in favor of what they want the relationship to be instead of what it really is. Respect isn't earned by being agreeable. It's earned by standing firm in who you are, even when it's difficult, even when the stakes feel high. A man can love you, desire you, even chase you, but if he doesn't respect your standards, the relationship will never feel safe, balanced, or fulfilling. And that respect only exists when you uphold your own boundaries consistently. It's not about being rigid or inflexible. It's about being clear on what you're willing to accept and what you're not. It's about showing up as your full self and knowing that you don't have to trade authenticity for affection. When you respect your own standards, you attract people who either match them or weed themselves out. Either way, you win. So even if he feels like the one, ask yourself, do I still feel like me in this relationship? If you're bending so much that you no longer recognize yourself, it's time to reassess, because the man who's truly the one won't cost you your standards. He'll honor them right alongside you. One of the most powerful yet underrated traits that keeps a man truly hooked is emotional safety. It's not often talked about in dating advice because it doesn't have the instant appeal of physical attraction or the excitement of flirtation. But it's what ultimately determines the longevity and depth of a connection. Emotional safety isn't about being soft or never having conflict. It's about being someone a man can show up to as his full self, flaws, fears, ambitions, and all, without fear of judgment, shame, or manipulation. And most women underestimate just how much men crave this kind of connection. We often assume men are looking for excitement, mystery, or beauty above all else. And while those things can spark interest, they don't build trust. What builds trust is knowing that he can open up to you and not be punished for his vulnerability, that he won't be emasculated for admitting he's struggling, that you won't throw his weaknesses back at him in an argument or use his honesty as a weapon later. When a man feels emotionally safe with a woman, something profound happens. He starts to see her not just as a romantic partner, but as a true teammate in life. So many women unknowingly make it unsafe for men to open up. They interrupt, they criticize instead of coach. They react emotionally instead of listening, or they shame men for not communicating like women. Forgetting that emotional expression is often harder for men, especially if they were never taught how to process or communicate their feelings. If you want a man to show his emotional side, you have to create space for it. That means listening without immediately solving. That means validating his experience without minimizing it or comparing it to your own. It means not needing him to be perfect in order to love him fully, but emotional safety is a two-way street. It also means you're safe with yourself, that you're not reactive, volatile, or bringing unresolved wounds into every disagreement. A man feels safe when he knows you have emotional maturity, when you can express yourself clearly, set boundaries without blame, and handle conflict with grace. When he knows that even in hard moments, you're not going to attack his character or threaten the relationship. When a man finds a woman who makes him feel safe, not coddled, not mothered, but truly understood, he doesn't want to lose her. That kind of connection is rare, it's calming, it's freeing. It allows him to drop the mask he wears for the world and just be. And once he feels that level of comfort and trust with you, he won't be looking anywhere else. Because physical attraction may bring a man to your door, but emotional safety is what makes him want to stay, build, and grow something real with you. That's the kind of foundation that doesn't just keep him hooked. It makes him want to hold on just as tightly as you do. At the heart of it all, the secret to keeping him truly hooked isn't about playing games, changing who you are, or constantly trying to prove your worth. It's about standing in your value, understanding your power, and showing up with emotional intelligence, self-respect, and depth. The women who cultivate lasting, meaningful relationships aren't the ones who chase, overgive, or mold themselves to fit someone else's idea of enough. They're the ones who know they are enough, and who aren't afraid to walk away when they are not being met at that level. A high-value connection isn't built on superficial attraction or short-term excitement. It's built on a foundation of mutual respect, balanced effort, emotional safety, and the kind of presence that doesn't require constant validation. When you maintain your standards, live a full life, and give space for a man to invest and show up as a partner, you create the kind of bond that doesn't just catch his attention. It captures his commitment. So if you've been wondering how to keep him hooked, the answer is simple, but not always easy. Be the woman who knows her worth. Be the woman who leads with strength and softness, with confidence and compassion. Not because it will make him stay, but because you deserve a relationship where love is not earned through sacrifice, but shared through mutual respect and intentional action. And remember, if he's truly the right man, you won't need to fight to keep him. He'll fight just as hard to keep you.